Welcome to the Knife Junkie podcast, your weekly dose of knife news and information about knives and knife collecting. Here's your host, Bob the Knife Junkie DeMarco.
Welcome to the Knife Junkie podcast. I'm Bob DeMarco. On this edition of the show, I'm speaking with Reese of Well Regulated. I started following Reese and his Well Regulated Instagram account when I discovered just who it was that designed my beloved Work Tuff Gear V44X Bowie knife. Just from that design alone, I felt I knew a few things about its designer. He loves Bowies, as much or more than I do. He has a real affinity for the Western/Marine Raider style of Bowie, and he has excellent design instincts. That last supposition was based on his ability to draw a meaningful and beautiful update to the legendary design as seen in the V44X. I've made a number of assumptions about Reese from his page, but you know what they say about assuming. So we'll meet Reese and find out about the man from the man himself. But before we do, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and download the show to your favorite podcast app. That way you can listen on the go. Also, if you'd like to help support the show, you can do so by scanning the QR code on your screen right here or going to TheKnifeJunkie.com/Patreon and checking out what we have to offer you. Again, that's TheKnifeJunkie.com/Patreon.
Adventure Delivered, your monthly subscription for hand-picked outdoor, survival, EDC, and other cool gear from our expert team of outdoor professionals. TheKnifeJunkie.com/BattleBox.
Reese, welcome to the Knife Junkie podcast, sir.
How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for joining me. So before we dig into the topic at hand, and anyone who's watching this right now, people are listening, people are watching, but I know their eyes went from you down to those beautiful Bowies in front of you. And we'll talk about those in a second. But tell me first, I feel like I know where it comes from, but tell me about your name, your handle, Well Regulated.
So I almost made a video on that because, I guess it can sound kind of weird and you might not understand where it comes from. But, like a Second Amendment, like a well-regulated militia. So because my channel kind of started off as like a gun channel. And, but it doesn't just mean like Second Amendment. So like well-regulated also means like in good working order. So it's kind of like a physical fitness thing, like preparedness. It has like multiple meanings.
So a general overall sense of well-regulated. Yeah, my mind first went to the Second Amendment, but I figured there was more to it, more to it than that. But so how did you get involved in designing knives?
I got into an art school so I can draw and stuff some, but I just don't sit down and do it a whole lot. And I didn't complete art school. I got in and I changed majors. And as far as designing, so I was doing throwing knives for a while, where I got pretty heavy into doing throwing knives, and I started drawing some models of those, just to have my own throwing knife, because sometimes the distances, like the lengths of the knife, equate to your rotations. With my throw, I needed like a 15-inch knife. So I was kind of designing my own knife, and I drew some stuff out, had it put on a file, cut it out of a saw blade. And before I started getting with work stuff gear, I also, there's a guy, Philip Burris, that's like a martial arts guy that does stuff in his garage. And he's helped me with a couple prototypes. And I drew some things and had him try to do like some Vikings, like some of the Edo wrap stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And when I really got into the Bowie, designing, so this was like on a quest, for like the perfect knife, because I searched for a long time. I've had a ton of knives, nothing very expensive until like kind of recently, where I would consider more high end. But I got a lot of stuff and I'd get it and then I wasn't happy with it. So I decided, hey, I'm going to make a custom. I'm going to find a knife maker and commission a custom knife. And so I started drawing it kind of the way I wanted to. And that kind of led into me doing a review on the Predator Hunter, and that put me in contact with Vic, and he asked me if I wanted to do a knife. So, but when my original design, I wasn't sure about the knife materials, and the guy that I was gonna have make it, he was kind of starting off, So I had my first design was to have Becker scales on there, but and I had a BK20 that I was going to modify, but I ended up selling that because I didn't want to Dremel it, Dremel a choil in it, mess up a collectible knife,
Yeah.
and I wasn't crazy about the handle on it. Like on the Becker, I know everybody really does like the Beckers, but I didn't like that it head was like kind of rounded off in the back, and I felt like that you like lost some control. So I wanted to, so when I was going to do my own knife and was going to be for other people, I can't use somebody else's handle. So I redrew it, and when I was in touch with Work Tough here, and that kind of was the base drawing for the V44X, becoming a production knife. Because I'm not like a knife designer that works for a company or anything.
No.
I was just a knife enthusiast that I was doing gun reviews and gun part reviews, and I had like a gun channel mostly. I think I had one knife that I reviewed that I got from an AK part store sent me, and yeah. So I guess it just really I was designing a knife for myself. I was asked about like to make a knife with a company, and that's like it's something I never thought I'd be able to do. So when I had the chance to, like I jumped at the chance, and able to work with Vic and put out the knife.
Oh yeah, I mean, Work Tough gear has been the greatest thing to hit knives, fixed blade knives in the last 5 years. Or I mean, they haven't been around that long, but man, they've made a splash. I also have that Predator Hunter Bowie, just so people know what I've been going on and on about. This is the V44X Bowie. I'm sure most of you already know. We're going to talk about this design and go into what your thoughts were, what your thinking was when you were redesigning it. But before we get to that, I want to back up a little bit. Before we started rolling, you said you had 300 knives within reach. We could talk about how did you get into knives in general?
Let me X this out. Something popped up about hand gestures. Is that you still see me?
Yep, still see it.
All right,
Yeah.
can you ask that last question again?
Well, I was just going to say, before we get to really talking through what you were thinking when you designed the V44X, I just want to find out where you got into knives, how you got into knives. You got 300 of them all around you. You're like me, you're like us.
They're kind of packed up in multiple places and like hidden.
Yeah. Yeah.
But so um so I've always kind of been like I've kind of always kind of gravitated towards that. So when I was about 4 or 5, my dad gave me a little buck knife. It's one of those ones where like a long skinny one folds it at one side and a little short stubby one folds at the other side. So I had that knife at like 4 or 5 years old, and I flayed my finger open with it trying to cut an oak leaf, like the vein of the oak leaf. And I learned early on. My grandma put a paper towel on it and tape. Um, but I've always liked knives, and I was always asking for stuff. Like, hey, we'd go to this store called Green Top Sporting Goods, and it'd be like a bucket with full of machetes and all the displays, and I'd be like, Dad, let me get a machete. So right around the time that I was 8, I got a machete. Like probably I think it's probably like $5 or $15, whatever budget machete is. But I had a machete when I was 8, and I was kind of free range, so I was out, making forts and chopping down stuff, and so and then actually, where's that knife? Down here. Uh, this was my first like kind of like like a nice knife. I got this when I was in 5th grade. This was an Imperial. Um, I guess they had a bunch of bayonet kind of blanks.
Oh yeah.
So this, I guess Imperial's going out of business, but I got this in 5th grade for Christmas, and it has like it's a survival knife kind of with like a compass, and it had a bunch of matches and like a magnesium thing. It has like a hammer, like nail claw.
Oh yeah. That's
So
cool.
which and it's kind of funny because this is not the best, survival knife. It's like a dagger.
Yeah.
It's not heavy enough to really chop. And I've killed like snakes with these. Like when I was younger, my buddy stepped on a snake and like it went to bite him, and I like hit in the back of the head. And but this is the first, I guess, like larger knife that I got. My dad gave me. I didn't pull it out, but I got a K-bar. Like one of the Skinners that has a little thumb wrap on the back. I
Yeah.
think the whole thing's about, probably like this long. He gave me one of those too. So I had one of those around the same time, maybe even in earlier than 5th grade. And of course, I left the sheath outside. It got rained on. I think the dogs chewed it up. I would throw it at the bow and arrow targets, and I lost it for a little while outside. And I later, I later found it, and it's kind of rusty because it was outside for a little bit, and the leaves are lost in the grass. But I've kind of always, had knives. And then after I got, older, and I didn't really have money, didn't have a job and stuff. But I got like the Raider Bowie. I think I bought that in like '98. But around '95, I bought the Spec Plus 7. It's like the 7-inch fighter. So I had that
You're
pretty
talking the
early.
Ontarios right now. The
Yeah, the
Ontario.
Ontario. It's like I think Spec Ops or Spec Plus.
Yeah. Yep.
I had it somewhere, but yeah. So I had that. I think around 15. So, but really, my ceiling for prices was right around. I think it was like probably 50 or $60, and I had a ninja sword. Of course, I was around Ninja Turtle time because I'm like 45.
Okay.
So like I begged for a ninja sword. So I got a ninja sword from like Smoky Mountain Knife Works.
Right.
So and that was really sharp. I cut myself pulling it out, showing
Oh,
my grandparents because I had my finger over the guard, not the guard, but the scabbard. But I've just always been into knives, and even when I went to the military, like I made sure I had a bunch of knives on me. I have my pile of deployment knives down there. If you want
yeah.
to talk about
Yeah.
those
Let's
later.
let's see him. You were in the United States Marine Corps, correct?
Yep. Let me hop back up here. Stick some
Well,
music
as you
on.
do that, let me thank you for doing that and for protecting my family with your body. We appreciate it.
Like I always wanted, since I saw the movie Navy SEALs. When I saw that movie, I'm like, that's what I'm gonna do. Like I had all the plans to be like a Navy SEAL, but I'm really not that good in the water. And I was like, man, what am I gonna do? So I was like, well, I'm gonna be a ranger. So right out of high school, I was gonna go into infantry small arms in the army. And my dad really didn't want me doing that at all. So he's like, hey, apply to colleges. I'll pay for your college. So I was like, oh, you are? So I got into college, went 2 years. My little brother was going in the Marine Corps, so we went in together in boot camp. And see, so it-
Did you? Let me ask you this. You went in when your brother did. Was that protective big brother instinct kicking in?
it's a little bit protective competitiveness.
Ah,
It's not business. I knew he had a West Coast guarantee, so he was definitely going to Florida. I mean, Florida, West Coast. He was going to California.
uh-huh.
So like I wanted to go in. I wanted to do that anyway. And some stuff happened around the same time where my brother was like, hey, just say screw it and join the Marine Corps with me. And I was like, yeah, I didn't want to go to college anyway. Like, what am I even doing here?
Yeah.
But it wasn't like a fun college. I was going like 2 days a week from like 8 to 6:45. I was working Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. Like I wasn't enjoying, I wasn't living it on campus.
Right.
So I was constantly busy, like 5 hours of sleep if I got it at night. So I was busy. I wasn't having a good time. So I wanted to go to the military. So my brother's like, hey, let's go. I was like, yeah, okay. So like I was enlisted in college, had a job, in like a large scale greenhouse. And then I withdrew from school, and I talked to my brother's recruiter on one Monday. The next Monday I was on Paris Island.
Whoa, that's fast.
Just very fast turnaround.
Damn. Okay, so you just pulled out some of the knives you deployed with, some of the knives you had in the Marine Corps. I think I saw a little Gerber boot dagger there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always
This is
wanted one of those.
This is one of the Gerber Guardians. I had this. I had a drop leg holster from SOE Gear, and it had like two leg straps. And I had this knife and this Columbia River. I think this is a Carlson or something. I had to look it back up, but of course I broke that. But these were like my little utility, like cut MREs. Where I don't have to pull out, the big knife.
Yeah.
But these I had on both deployments. This Ryan, Columbia River Ryan. I had that pretty much my whole enlistment. I had also one of those Columbia River, like the ones that everybody had with the Tanto.
The M16.
Yeah, I had one of those too. That wasn't my deployment knife. I kind of had that around the barracks and stuff, but I mostly had this guy. And my first deployment knife, I was on the 11th MU. And while we were doing workups for the 11th MU, that's actually when 9/11 happened. I was
What
out
is?
in 20. I was in
I'm sorry.
29
What?
bombs.
I'm sorry, sir. What is the 11 mu? What is that?
It's the 11th Marine Expeditionary Unit.
Oh, okay.
So they leave from out from the West Coast. They do like a 6 month float. You do like some humanitarian stuff, and you're kind of like on call doing like circles out in the ocean around like the like Red Sea, Persian Gulf. We were off the coast of Djibouti. We did a bunch of ports. Like one reason I wanted to California also was because I wanted to go. Always wanted to go to Australia,
Oh,
and the West Coast Muse they go into Australia. So I got to go to Australia 3 times, twice in the MU and once on the way back from my Iraq deployment.
oh wow, that's cool.
So like Australia was great, but I couldn't find a knife. I went through all the gift shops. I'm like, hey, where can I find a Bowie knife? I want like a Crocodile Dundee Bowie knife. Do I have anything here? Like old stuff, antiques, but I don't know if it's the laws in the cities we're in, but I could not find a knife to buy. I got a didgeridoo and some boomerangs,
Oh, that's
but
cool.
I didn't
Boomerang will
get
do in a
a.
pinch.
I really wanted like a Dundee type Bowie.
Yeah, yeah. Oh man, who among us didn't? So what else do you have there from that period?
So this has a different sheath because the sheath I had fell apart, and these are discontinued. These are like a Spec Ops sheath, but the green one, the camless one, fell apart, and I replaced the scales. I still have the black like Ravelry scales,
Mm.
but I replaced them with Micarta. It's like my spray paint camo job. But this is the Becker BK7. Um,
So you carried this, and you. How many knives would you have on you at once?
well, I had this. The way I had my gear set up, I was a saw gunner, so I had a machine gun.
Oh, okay.
So a lot of times if I had a gear with my drums on there, a lot of times I would have those off. But I was an MP, so I had my like pistol belt. So I had a pistol belt with my pistol, and I had a knife on this side. And sometimes I would move the gas mask, like have it on the same belt on the drop. But when I did this deployment, like I would keep this knife in my belt. And so like that way when you're walking around base and you don't have your long rifle, like I always either had a knife or like a pistol on me. Like no matter like where I was or sleeping or whatever.
Is
And
it true that you can't be armed on Marine Corps bases now? Sorry.
well, one thing was really weird on base. So all of our guns are locked up in the armory. So it's not like you have access to your rifle, your pistol, your stuff. And they have really strict rules. They have like health and comfort inspections. So once I had a vehicle, I could keep stuff locked in my car. Like I keep like my knife in my car. But they didn't even want us having like our K bars in the barracks.
Really?
So you would think like, oh, Marines, they have all their stuff, but like
Yeah.
they kind of treat you like kids. Because I mean, we act stupid and get drunk and jump off the second deck and stuff. So
Yeah.
and we fight and everybody's drinking, everybody's young and bored. So it's
Yeah.
probably maybe it's best, but we just didn't have access to all that stuff. Um, one of the guys that I was in with got in trouble because he had a Foot Locker. He was trying to go do the end dock, I think, to do recon, and he had pistols under his bed and stuff.
Oh,
He
geez.
got caught and got in big trouble having those. It was in California too, so I don't know what weight the state laws factor into the military base,
Right.
but you just don't really have access to stuff. I bought not my first pistol because I bought a Glock 17 when I turned 21 and I was actually at home. If you have orders, from like to California, but your home address is Virginia, I can still go to Virginia and buy a pistol. So when I turned 21, I bought a Glock 17. And I was in California when Kimber was still first coming out. I bought a Kimber Custom Tactical 2, but
Nice.
I kept that in the like the gun range locker, and I had to check it out and shoot it and then put it back in my locker and drive back to the barracks. But yeah, the access to stuff is not it's not like we just have all of our guns and knives and we're running around doing stuff all the time. But this is my K bar. I think these are discontinued. I mean, they make a similar blade, but this is the this is 1232 or something. 1272. It's like the K-bar next generation fighter.
Yeah, that's
So it's
cool.
like I think it was an 8 inch versus like a 7 or whatever the typical K-bar length is. It's 8. This is like the Kydex sheath, a little rubber piece that rotted and like kind of fell off. But that's that. This is what I brought with me in my Iraq deployment, and I actually had this mounted right here on my gear.
Upside down, huh?
Right, so because I had like your interceptor vest, like the Woodland interceptor vest, with this on there, and I had my gear set up so I could put the suspenders over top of that, so it didn't interfere with my knife. And I'd have like my belt with my pistol with the pistol mags, and usually I was in a vehicle, so a lot of times I would keep my gear rolled up and stuck either on the floor somewhere or up behind the back seat, where if I had to, I could like grab it and throw it over my shoulder and jump out if we had to like, we got ambushed or something happened. We had to get out of the vehicle.
Right. So is this where you gained your love for the Bowie knife? And seems like you really love that Marine Raider Bowie, where it's got a nice dramatic clip and a big belly towards the front. Um,
So,
is this where this happened?
well, I got this knife 2 years before I joined in
Ooh.
'98, and this was one of the first Raider Bowies from Ontario. It wasn't always camo, but I had it in the back of like my Suzuki Samurai, and it got wet and got rusted. But I've had this since 1998, and this is Ontario's Raider Bowie. So I had this for a while too, before I even went to the Marine Corps. And I never really knew what the Marine Corps was all about. When I was younger, I was always either thinking Navy SEALs or like Army. I just knew the Marine Corps were guys that where they were all like crazy and wore blue dress blues and try to get you to sign up and do pull-ups at football games. I didn't really know what they were about or what they did. So the K-bar thing, I didn't know a lot about K-bars until later. But when I was 18, I had this. So this is pretty similar to the like this is like a Collins, like a
Whoa.
like Raider Bowie. They call them like a bailout knife. The Air Force had them first, like the Army Corps of Engineers, like the Army Air Corps of Engineers. They were in like survival kits in these little cutouts under the seat with like a survival kit, like in the seat cushion.
Oh,
But a lot of times they got pillaged, and guys would take them out and steal them and carry them. But uh, the second Raiders, this was actually on their gear list for the second Raiders. They had this. They had a stiletto from Camillus. But this is I always mess this up. It's like a brain fart I have. It's either Carlson or Carson's Raiders. I think it's Carlson's Raiders,
okay.
but I always say the wrong thing. It seems like, and I realize I do it, but I always mess it up. But he requested this on the gear list, and this is what people refer to as like a Raider Bowie, what most people see. But there was different contracts where they couldn't fulfill all the need for the military. So Kinfolks made them. Western made one called the Bushman BX54. Case made one, the Case XX, and but the original one is Collins. Collins had the first one, and all the other ones, the U.S. companies were fulfilling what Collins couldn't meet. And I think they're in Hartford. They were in Connecticut. This one's really rusted, but
That is a beauty.
but
I have a Collins machete on my wall right here. This thing. Yeah. This
I've
one.
got one of those down there. It's a lot thicker than I thought it was going to be. I
I
think
can't I can't believe that was just part of someone's kit. It's so heavy
I would
uh,
never want to carry that anyway.
by today's standards. Yeah. Yeah, that's why I was asking you about, how many you carried with you when you were deployed, just
But
because.
so like, yeah, like usually one big knife,
Yeah,
two little knives on my gear, like on my drop leg, just like
right.
quick accessible. Pocket knife that stayed in my pocket all the time. Is you take your gear off and it's sitting somewhere. So I always had a pocket knife, and then I had a pair of they called it like a lifer tool. It's like a pretty much like a fold up Gerber pliers.
Oh, okay.
I had that on my gear next to my pistol belt. And if you're working with machine guns and cutting safety wire and doing stuff, it's always good to have pliers because stuff with machine guns gets weird. Like the links get stuck in things, and there's stuff you have to do sometimes to fix things.
All right, so let's fast forward to recently. I don't even know when, but you had the Puzon Predator Hunter Bowie from Work Tough Gear. You made a video, and Vic, whose last name escapes me, from Work Tough Gear, got in touch with you. How did this happen?
So I bought the Predator Hunter and actually bought the knife by accident. It was the night like my grandfather was dying that night. Like he had been like it was on the way out that week, and I was on night shift. But I knew this drop was happening, and I hadn't bought a knife yet from there. So I set my account up, attached to PayPal. That way, if I wanted to, I could do the knife.
Mhm.
And all the time, I'll do this thing where like I'll add stuff to my cart, go to checkout, and like see what the shipping is and the total is. And I'm like, nah, I shouldn't do this. And I exit out. Or I'm like, screw it. No, like by now, I'm like, oh, I shouldn't have done.
Yeah.
But this time, so like I added to the cart, and I hit whatever the next button was after you add it to your cart, like checkout. And the little thing starts spinning, and it said, "Congratulations on your order." And I'm like, "Oh my god!" I'm like, I just bought a knife by accident for like $3.30. And the guys at work are like, "You idiot! Like, what do you mean you bought a knife by accident?" I'm like, "I pushed checkout now, and it didn't say submit or complete your order. Just like it's like it's yours." So then I was I had the knife, and I was asking the guys on like my social media, which is mostly gun people, like AK people. I'm like, "Hey, should I resell this? Is this like a limited drop, or should I do like a use review? You guys want to see that?" And the guys were like, "Oh yeah, hell yeah, use the knife, do a review." So I did a review of the Predator Hunter, and I just put it up. And my YouTube channel, I've been on YouTube for over 8 years, and my first couple of years, I had 25 subscribers for like over probably 2 years at least or more, and it's like nobody's subscribing to my
Yeah.
stuff. So my channel's never been monetized. YouTube is monetized some of my videos, but I haven't given them permission to do that. They just have done it. So so Vic, I tagged him, of course, on Instagram, and he asked me, he's like, "Hey, I saw you did a video with a Predator Hunter. Is it okay if I use the video?" So I was like, "Sure, it's not monetized. You can just do whatever you want with it." So he used the video, and I think it might have been, I don't know if it was a couple of days or maybe a week or 2 weeks. I forget the time frame. But he's like, "Hey, would you be interested in making a knife with us?" So of course I was already currently working on my own, custom knife for myself. So I was like, "Yeah, I would love to do that." I've always loved knives. That'd be great. Second, I started like kind of like a long process of getting the final drawing nailed down and getting the dimensions on the handle right. Man, I got that in there somewhere, but it's like a white handle, like a 3D print. But that kind of started the whole process. And that was a long process. And actually, nobody knew that I was working on that knife until Blade Show of 2023, when I brought the prototype with me to Blade Show. So it was probably over a year or so, probably close to 2 years, just getting this ready, and then getting this turned into a 3D printed handle and getting the specs right. But yeah, that's kind of how that worked. It was kind of all by chance, which is funny because when I started my YouTube channel, I didn't know really what I wanted to do or get out of it or do with it. I was like, well, I'll just make some videos. I'm shooting a lot. I think at the time I was probably shooting like 1,000 rounds a month or something.
Mhm.
I had a group of guys in a bunch of places I was shooting at. So I started recording stuff and putting stuff out there. And it's like, who knows, maybe someday somebody will see something and it will open up some doors to stuff. And then lo and behold, I end up being able to have like a production knife, which is something I didn't think, was gonna be able to happen.
So cool. So is this the prototype you're holding in your hand right
Yeah,
there?
so this is the prototype, and so I originally intended the knife to have I'll just make sure y'all can see that, to have a round fuller,
That looks
you
good.
know, like the K bar,
Yeah.
and this one actually came flat because it was done on a belt, and I used a Dremel and rounded it off by hand.
Oh, nice.
I was a little nervous doing that because it's like a $400 prototype. So it's the drawing. I have the drawing in my closet. It's a little bit off, like some of the clip got taken off and some of the belly got taken off doing the grinding.
Mm-hmm.
But this is like the basic shape. Like it's pretty close. It's really close to the drawing, not
Yeah.
exact. And then after I got this, when I had to do a final drawing, um,
Yeah.
I added the belly some and I kind of made the clip pronounced, and I wanted more. So this is, I don't know if you can see that, but this is thin.
Yeah.
I was really worried about the tip, being too thin. So I think a swedge looks great, like on the Raider Bowie and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I just did not want to make it the tip really fragile. So on the production, kind of did like a really short chamfer for the
Like right here.
yeah, we just did a little bit.
Yeah.
So I think on maybe the Bravo that's coming out later, that will have a little bit wider swedge, but it almost like tapers off into the tip, so it doesn't take any material off of there. 'Cause,
Right.
and actually I put, because you don't know exactly how things are going to work out, but when I ordered this, I guess we can talk about that. So I was talking to the maker, and I was like, well, I might want to reshape things. Like I actually got a Dremel tool and reprofiled everything. So I had to make the handle bigger than I wanted it, and it's a full tang, so there's no cutouts. So that way I could I got my Dremel tool, and I would go out and chop with it, do a bunch of chopping and like heavy chopping and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And if I felt like my hand was slipping off too much or needed a more ramp or a more contour up here or something, I would just sit there and so this is so I shaped that with like a Dremel tool.
That is cool. So this was a prototype that you had custom made, and did you send this to Vic to
You
show
know,
him?
I think it would have been a lot easier to do that than doing like doing measurements from millimeters to standard, because I had to learn millimeters and get calipers to do millimeters. I didn't know the conversion, so I had to start doing all my measurements in millimeters. But I put jimping on there too, and if you're holding it like that and the blade would have been here, it's probably not bad. But when you start choking up on the choil, it just like eats into the web of your palm,
Oh yeah.
and this is not. It's not cool anymore when it's like sawing off your the webbing of your hand.
Well, an interesting thing about the production, at least the one that I have here, this is from the second run, is that the almost the entire spine is 90 degrees, and I've started fires, number of fires with this, just in the backyard here. But right where the thumb would be, and right where the web between the thumb and the forefinger would be in the choil grip, is nicely chamfered there, just for about an inch, until it transitions into right there, just before it transitions into the 90-degree spine. I love that feature.
So that was actually something that was Vic's idea.
Mm-hmm.
Like my way of thinking was hey, make it all flat. If they want it smooth, and they can knock it down with like a diamond file or do it themselves. But Vic really wanted to make the product like finished
Mm-hmm.
and like to come like where you don't have to modify it to make it comfortable.
Yeah.
So that probably would have bothered people if they are using the choil and then they're getting cut up with a sharp spine. So that was probably a good idea to go ahead and make it come that way from the like from the factory.
So let me ask you this, Reese. You have the Marine Raider Bowie. You want to design a new one. What were the things about the original that made you make the changes that were incorporated into your final design for the V44?
So I kind of got into Bowies. I wanted a large clip point Bowie, not like a W49, like the Becker BK20 29. I like that shape, like the Raider Bowie that I had. So looking into Ethan Becker stuff, his inspiration for the Moses and the Boondock Bowie, his inspiration, man, my mustache is like falling in my mouth. I was running around like a crazy person trying to get everything pulled out. So that's when I kind of learned more about the Raider Bowies. Like I knew about the Marine Raider Bowie, the modern one, but I hadn't gotten into the history as much until I looked into Ethan Becker's inspiration for the 20 and the 29. So when I found that and I got I think the 20, that really kind of put me down the path of oh my gosh, now I need to get one of those. Like I found one that had like like a bone inlay of like a skull, where a Marine had like carved in and carved a enemy's bone and like inlaid it in
Oh my God.
the guard.
Yeah.
Marines do crazy stuff,
Yeah.
but like I really wanted the green horn handle and ended up getting. I think I've had 3 or 4 of those now. But
What is the greenhorn handle?
I don't think I have one. I
Is
didn't
it
pull.
a shape or a material?
So it's a material. It's like a actual like buffalo horn,
Oh,
and
okay.
it's like a green color. I forgot to bring. I have a whole box under there. I didn't pull it out from under the bed,
That's all right.
but it's like the same shape, same exact shape. It just has. It's almost like a ghost jade G10 with like
Mhm.
swirls of like white and yellow, and some are darker, some are gray. I have one I have 2 that are gray. A lot of people don't know this, but most of these are brass, and the pins are different colors. Some are brass, some are like I don't know if it's lead or steel. I think it's steel, but some of the guards are actually nickel plated,
Uh-oh.
and so nobody likes collectors don't like to put out their secrets because then everybody knows what to look for. But they have a nickel plated one, and a lot of them were for the second raiders that were ordered. But if you ever find one like this that has a silver, like a nickel colored guard, those are really rare. I got lucky and found one on a Facebook knife group.
Ah,
I
nice.
found one recently for one of my buddies that collects knives, and they needed one of those, and they were trying to buy mine. So I found another one at an estate sale, and they were able to get that one for their. They have a huge Collins collection, like
Mm.
like a basement wall, and they needed they needed that guard. So I found them one for a good price. So we both have one.
That's awesome.
I,
Can you pick that knife back up? I want to make an observation. The pommel of this knife, first of all, looks looks sort of like the Western, but when I look at this pommel, it reminds me of the pommels of Filipino um, knives and weapons. It just kind of has that.
it's probably. I mean, it's kind of like it's almost like a Latin machete, like a typical
Yeah.
machete handle. But I don't know if this back piece here. I know one thing. Like a reason that I put like did. So I didn't want to add stuff that didn't make sense to this thing.
Mhm.
But the reason it goes down like that is so when you're chopping, like the fat part of your palm hits on that. So when you're going down like this and you just stop the knife, like that part's pushing into your hand, so it's not like rotating forward
Yeah.
or turning out or like rolling in your hand or deflecting. It actually helps you like decelerate. So I don't know if that was like why they had this little extra piece because it kind of hits.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know why. I don't know why it's there, but
I think
um,
that makes total sense actually, because without that, especially guys with bigger hands might be slipping off the back, and then you would have the corner of that gouging into your hand.
this one's actually got 3 notches in it.
Yeah.
And I've got
What's
some
that
other
about?
knives that have stuff carved in it, but you never know what it means. It could be 3 kills. It could be 3, deployments. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know, but this one was really beat up, and it has some notches in there, but I don't know what they're from.
I love that. That's one of the things I love about the old knives behind me in my collection. Like just thinking about what they experienced. I know that's a weird way of putting it, but what these knives were used for, what they went through, what they meant to the person who owned them. Like a couple of the K-bars my brother has given me from World War II and Korea have things inscribed in the leather sheaths, and I don't know. I love that because these are all things that predate me, and I'm getting up there. I'm over a half century here, and but to think that these were used by people and relied on by people, and I just love that. Oh, what do you have there in front of you there?
So, a little more history because these are rare. Sometimes things are so rare that nobody knows what they are, and they get listed wrong on estate sales and stuff all the time.
Yeah.
So this is a aluminum. It's actually pretty heavy. It's an aluminum guard. This was the first Raider Battalion knife. Um, I think it was Second Lieutenant Carlson. Man, I can't never get that right. I feel so embarrassed. But his son, like the guy that formed Second Raiders, his son was also in the Raiders. He was an officer, so he commissioned 1,000 of these to be made in New Zealand. And I think the company now is Victory. I follow them on Instagram, but it's Victory Knives out of New Zealand. So they commissioned 1,000 of these, and let's see if you can see it. So the handles were OD green, but not many of them have the paint on it still. This one actually has a little bit of the OD green paint, and the same company also made a couple hundred for the it's like the RNZAF. It's like the New Zealand Air Force, because it was like their bailout knife for their pilots, survival knives. But they made some too, and the way you can tell the difference is the grind height's different and the blades are different lengths. So that's how you can tell if you find something that looks like this. And if you have one of the scabbards for the New Zealand one, they have like kind of like a khaki color with like some leather on it, and the back is stamped RNZAF. And that's for New Zealand. But the ones with the green paint stuff were Raider Bowies. So I've got two of these. So I've got two of the 1,000, the first Raider Bowies.
Wow.
One I paid a lot for, and actually sold. Had a bunch of AK surplus stuff that I'd bought before AKs got real popular, and I sold a lot of money of that. And where I pretty much paid for this when I sold the AK surplus.
Are these the same? Are these from the same run? Because they
It's
look a
definitely
little different.
it's definitely different. So this one's skinnier. Usually, a lot of times you see this blade profile is more on the RNZF ones,
Okay.
but materials were scarce, and like I don't know where they were sourcing the material, or if they had more than one guy in the shop, or how they were, like when they were making the batch for the Raiders versus the New Zealand Air Force. I don't know, like if they were making them in batches or if it took them a month or all at the same time. Like I don't know all the details of that. It's probably in paperwork somewhere. I just don't know. There are different, like these are the same length, but they're like the grind height is right, but one has more of a belly on it.
Yeah, that one, the one in your right hand looks like it's got a thicker waist or a thicker ricasso area there.
It's about the same. These are actually a lot thicker. Like these the second Raider boat, like the Collins, these are about an eighth of an inch, like more like a machete. But these are closer to like 3/16, where they're actually like closer to the size of like my Bowie. But this one has a similar swedge, where the swedge isn't like, it's not like a K bar.
Right. It doesn't get real thin there.
You can see where it's kind of like, it's pretty similar to this one.
So when you designed the profile for the V44, V44X, what was your goal in making such a deep belly?
Let's see, where'd I put this off? So so here is where I was when I was drawing out, when I'm thinking in my head, like why I wanted to do certain things. So I wanted to make something that chopped really well, but wasn't very heavy. So I wanted the mass of the weight to be in a certain spot. And if you were batoning and stuff, I wanted that to be over the top of certain areas too. So like you get the most efficient, like use out of all the weight that's there.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to have extra material here. So it'd give you like a little bit of like, chopping mass. And I wanted with a tip, I think like even though it's a tool, it's also like, knife is defensive, maybe offensive. You know, if you're in, some type of environment where you're gonna be stabbing like a pig or something like, I guess something else. But I wanted this tip to be center lined, so like if you had to stab something, it's gonna go almost like right on like a can opener. It's not gonna be like weird where it's not gonna penetrate.
Yeah.
A lot of the clip was, I wanted the belly there for like the weight because I wanted this. This was 3/16, which is like 5 millimeters. And originally the first knife I was gonna have for myself, I was gonna do a 1/4 inch. But after handling some 1/4 inch knives, I was like, you know what, this is so heavy.
Yeah.
Like if you use this for a while, I actually got tendonitis in this arm and it lasted for like a year. I did a video on YouTube how to fix tendonitis because it was so bad. Like I could barely hold stuff and do certain things. So I really wanted to make a knife that was like not fatiguing and not going to injure you. You know, like when you go so big, if you're like wailing on something, you can really hurt, hurt your ligaments and, hurt your arm, especially if you're not doing manual labor stuff and your body's not used to that.
Yeah.
So a lot of the shape, like I wanted the clip point, like the Raider Bowies. This one, so it's kind of similar to that one.
Yeah, you know what? The V44 looks almost like, and forgive the use of this term, I don't mean it in a negative way because this is one of my favorite fixed blade knives, but it's almost a caricature of the Marine Raider in that it exaggerates the lines on the Marine Raider to massive effect.
But that was kind of like the X part of it, because like a V44, but it's like the extreme.
Okay.
So one sec, I'll wet my whistle so I can talk.
Yeah.
So like the whole kind of like the concept of the extreme part, I wanted to take all the stuff that I didn't like about, like I don't want to talk bad about other knife designs, but after you've had a lot of different knives and you've chopped with stuff, and some hurt your hand, some like come out of your hand, and or they're wearing hot spots and different things on you. Um, like the reason I had my own custom made was like I had so many things I didn't like about other knives that I'd used in the past. Like machetes too. Like use a bunch of different machetes, you find out what is not comfortable. So what I really wanted this to do, that's why some guys wanted a guard on both sides, but then you can't choke up and you can't do a lot of stuff if you have a big guard back there.
Yeah.
But I really wanted this to be like an extreme version, like a functional, like a hard use extreme version of like the regular. So I wanted the handle to be comfortable. I wanted it to stick in your hand. I wanted you to be able to do like, I know people don't like the whole term like one tool option, but like this knife compared to some other stuff I've drawn up, like this was really meant to kind of do like, you know, multiple different things, like do fine work,
Yeah.
chop well, the whole concept of like the American Bowie knife is like a do-it-all tool that you're gonna have with you when you might not have other stuff. And let's see, where's this big knife? So they always say like, oh, you shouldn't do that with a knife. That's not what it's for. But this knife, you can see on the spine, it has marring marks that are
Oh,
actually
yeah.
worn down some. But if you're in the field, you don't have the option to like, you might not have a hammer, or you might not have the stuff you need. So you just have what you have with you. So, guys would hammer with spines and do things like, pry with stuff and break tips. And one thing you can see too a lot on the originals, especially on the cases, that their tangling went down to like here.
Mhm.
So they would always break right in this crack. Like they're either cracked or there's a ton broken that people have rehandled, but they would crack all the time. So I guess the whole thing is this was supposed to be like a more functional, like
Yeah.
a beefed up extreme like extreme version of like the Raider Bowie. And even
You know
like
what?
even like this. Like it's not a terrible handle.
Right.
I mean, it's a bunch of people I'm sure have used this, but you know, it leaves a little bit to be desired.
Well, this one on the V44, you've really extended the handle itself is larger than at least the Western W49 I have here, and the Ontario that you were the SP10 you were just holding up, and then you add the choil, and that gives it even essentially that makes the handle from here to here almost like 6 inches.
Yep.
So a lot of versatility here. You can choke all the way back here for chopping. You have a hidden lanyard hole here, so you could um, So I love the practicality of this. Now, granted, this, every time I've used this, it's been like, ooh, I'm going out to use it. It's not like I've needed to use this
Yeah.
but that's how my knife collecting is. It's,
Sure.
but I do carry every day a fixed blade knife, and I see a little prototype in front of you. Maybe it's not a little prototype, but a different.
These guys
So
or these guys?
that right there.
All
Yeah.
right, so this is a knife. So I have these prototypes too, the EDC one. I have like three
Oh
of these
yeah.
up here. But this is actually one that I really want to have this knife made, like really bad. Like I think this is something that I think will be more useful to a lot of people. It's right at like 13 inches, maybe just like a hair under. But in comparison, what I've done is so like this one, when I designed this knife, it's full tang. I put the hardware holes in places where they wouldn't be in thin points. But I wanted the knife to be, when people pick this knife up, one of the first things they say is they're like, "Wow, that knife is lighter than I thought it would be." So that's because it's got like the handle is kind of balanced, so it's making it's keeping the weight back, so the knife, this part up here doesn't feel as heavy.
All right.
So this is like more of like a one tool option, multi grip, but I don't need to have a long handle, um, on a shorter like a 7 inch blade, like a seven. I think this was that 7 inch of sharpened part, but you don't need all that handle. So I wanted this to be more compact. I want it to be something where the pommel is more round. That way, when it's on your side, you're
Mm,
not like destroying your elbows when you're walking. Because people don't think about that stuff when they're adding stuff to their knives. I might do a slight little bump there, and that was just going to be a standoff for like hammering.
okay.
Like if you're like doing batoning or something, tapping stuff back in, or maybe you got to do a quick, like hit something, but it's not going to be for like dedicated for like hitting people. I mean, you have
Right.
a giant blade in your hand. Um,
Yeah.
if you like pommel crushers, it's fine, but
Yeah.
that's not one of the things where I'm like, I've got to have one of those, or
Yeah.
it's like a deal breaker.
Dude, they end up just hurting the person who's carrying them.
You're
And
either wearing something or scratching up a weapon, scratching up a piece of gear, hurting your
scratching up your
elbows.
arm, or heaven forbid you try and use it in reverse grip and put the thumb back there.
Yeah, like and with this one too, we looked at doing stuff like that. But if you like when you chop down, you can chop down to your pinky and stuff, and there's nothing, like hitting your hand. And a
Yeah.
lot of guys were like, there's no glass breaker. That's a deal breaker for me. I'm like, you have a giant knife.
The whole thing is a glass breaker.
Like, okay, like, but so this one, this is and what I'm calling this one is the V44, and I've kind of been kind of funny with the name, but it's I I was trying when I drew this, similar to the Becker, like my first deployment knife. And this is what a lot of people, they're like, hey, that's like a great, like field utility combat, like deployment knife. And what I don't like about a lot of K bars and stuff is this is the new K bar. Lucas did these scales. They make this knife. It looks killer like this.
Beautiful.
But this is more, it's not a very heavy blade. It's more like a stabber. You can do utility and cutting, but this is more like a combat knife. So if you had to like chop down a tree or do anything else, and it's not really much of a slasher, like a heavy like belly slasher.
Yeah.
So what I wanted to do is get I'm calling this the D44 field utility. So it's like a field utility knife that can like kind of fill a bunch of roles, like a shrunk down version of the V44X. But stuff you can like, if you had to, you can like chop down a tree, clear like shooting lanes, clear places for like a mortar, like do like heavier utility
Yeah.
work, but still have something that it will fit on your belt.
Yeah.
You're-
Field
But
utility knife. It's got a great acronym too. Everyone could, shorten it and just
yeah, and I was calling it like jokingly like the field utility combat knife. But that's yeah,
nice. I
but
like
like
the
that's the
shape of
whole
the swedge on this one too. The clip is a slightly different shape.
yeah. I had to like Dremel that in. So
I'm
this is
sorry.
made
No,
of
I'm talking about the clip at the front of the blade.
oh this.
Yeah.
So I made this out of wood. So it was a knot. So I like made this out of wood. I just painted it so you could kind of it would look more like a knife.
Yeah.
But I made this out of a 2x4
Nice.
that was
Nice.
under my shed.
So
But
Oh, I'm sorry. I keep interrupting you, Reese, but
Good.
we're coming close to our time here, and I do want to see your prototypes for your EDC model.
Oh, this is check this real quick. This is the blank that I had cut for this guy.
Oh, nice.
So that's a little bit more. This is I did this with wood, but you can see that actually.
Yeah, it's pretty wonderful.
I'm probably gonna finish one of these myself. I had two done. I just haven't had anybody or I haven't had time to go out and do it yet. But this is the EDC version, the V44 C, like compact, carry, concealed. You know, like smaller, like pocket Bowie.
Yeah.
This was the first one I did.
That
When
is
I,
so cool.
so and this one too, I had the guy do this. The guy from Papa Bear Knives. He had it more squared off and left it kind of like it wasn't rounded and contoured. I took my Dremel tool and like shaped like a contour like Coke bottle. And I did the same thing where like I felt it. If it didn't feel right, I'd take some more off, felt it, go ahead and use it some. And when I was using this, one thing I didn't like about this was it was the lack of the guard. And I've been using it some and I was stabbing it into a log. And if you grab it like this, the way you can get around that if you do a thumb over the top, or if you grab back farther where it's like hanging off,
Yeah.
you put your pinky on it instead of choking all the way up. You can prevent slippage like that, like going onto the blade. But that's a really dangerous thing you don't want to ruin your index finger. That's an important hand, important finger. So what I did with this, I didn't like it didn't have a guard, even though you can get like, right up on the blade. Like if you run bushcraft stuff, that's probably maybe better. But so this is so I added a guard.
Oh, that's cool. So wait, have these been made? I feel like I've seen people like Scott from Choir Boys. I feel like I've seen him with one of these, or maybe someone else.
Might have had one at Blade Show. And Josh from Ankura Knives helped me make a small batch of these before Blade Show.
Okay.
And Jason from Straight Edge Knives, he has one.
Oh
And
yeah.
a couple guys have one, but Lucas Carroll did the scales for me.
Oof.
And this is little slight changes with this. Like it's supposed to be like the grind's supposed to be a little higher, but this is essentially what the production will look like. And the blanks they have cut now are in K329. And so this is that's what it will mostly look like that. And this is, it's meant to be like a pocket sheath.
Yeah.
And I wanted a full grip, but with no extra like handle, like nothing extra.
Right.
But I wanted a big enough blade where, it felt like you actually had something substantial. Like I have knives that have like a 2-inch, like I had this little pocket Bowie I got from a guy in Ukraine. And it's a cool knife, but I don't feel like I have something capable of like defense with that.
Yeah.
Like, so I like to have something a little bigger. And so that's where that came from.
So we're about to wrap, but I want people to know, do you have, are there plans for this in the works? Is this something, I know production with big companies, say like with Work Tuff, you can never tell when it's going to happen and they have their own schedules and setbacks and all. But is this going to be something, oh, that's a cool grind. Is this something that's going to be available on a wider scale?
So this one, the blanks are cut for this one. So Work Tough Gears gonna make this. The blanks have been cut for a little bit. So they have these, and this is the Jofu leather sheath. This is kind of how I intended it to be carried. Where it's like in your pocket, you can grab it.
So we'll start a pressure campaign to get Work Tough Gear to start moving on this.
Well, the date is looking like right now the date is like tentative, because you don't know, you can't control everything that happens.
Yes.
But summer of 2026 is the ETA for the EDC. And this one is from Jed Hornbeak.
Oh God, I love his knives.
So I just sent him this blank, and he's actually he's supposed to be working on a batch of these in 3V. But he just moved. He's very busy. I haven't been bothering him. But he made this for me, just sent it to me. And did this sheath in green shark skin. And this sheath, talk about like nice. This was in my mailbox when I came back from Blade Show. like just like the jimping, the machining on the jimping. It goes from a hollow grind to a flat. It's just like this knife is really cool. It has like sure grip. He wanted me to test that out, but it's like a
That's what's a
rubber.
rubber in the G10.
Yeah.
I have one Jed Hornbeak knife, and he only made 4 of the model that I have, and man, it is one of my prized knives. Man, I've had a ball talking to you. We got a lot more to talk about. We're gonna do an extra 10 minutes for our patrons, and maybe we'll do a part 2 down the road, because I feel like you're a wealth of knowledge, especially about Bowies, but about this style of Bowie especially. But I know you've got a cabinet full of stuff, and we need to talk some more. But for now, do you have any plans to work broader on different designs, say non-Bowie designs?
So I can run over there and grab a Kwaiken, and I have it in my gear over there, but I have to go off camera. But I have done stuff with like a clinch pick type design that I made for. Actually, that was one of the first knives that I did, like a real knife I designed for somebody. I have a buddy that used to do contracting work, and he wanted like a clinch pick, like from Shivworks, but he wanted a double-sided Tanto. So I drew one up. I sent the drawing to the guy I know, Philip Burris in Florida, and he made it. Sent it to him. His buddy wanted one. He made another one, and then he just sent me one for free. He's like, "Hey, thanks for sending me the business. Here's an I have that knife in there. Let me grab him real quick."
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah.
And as you do, I'll just remind people that they can, right now, they have to look at the secondary market to find these, but the V44 Bowie is most definitely something worth seeking out. The V44X from Reese and Work Tough Gear. You know, I'm not a hard user, but I've batoned this through some nasty old wood, and you can barely see any marks on it, and it flies through. And by the way, Work Tough Gear just puts an amazing edge on their knives. So let's see this one before we roll out of here.
So this was actually my EDC Bowie. I brought this one to Blade Show in 2023, and I had drawn this, years in advance. But I wanted like a wrap, like a Bowie with like an Edo wrap.
Oh yeah.
So he doesn't. This guy doesn't have a machine shop, so he didn't have he doesn't have a mill. But he did that for me, and it's like kind of the same type of concept. I just kind of more refined it to like carry. But I did that one. This is the one I did for my buddy.
Oh, that is cool.
This is meant to be worn like like you have it on your belt and it hangs down, and you reach up and you grab it, and you can like hit legs, or it's kind of like a distancing tool. Like, hey, I'm tangled up. Poke you a couple times, get my gun.
Yeah.
And this is one I wanted this made. So this is supposed to have 2 edges. It's supposed to go up here, be an angle, then come up here and have another angle where there's like a like a line, like an angle change. I was calling this the death finger. And this is supposed to be like a like an EDC, like a Kwaiken, long enough where it can like get do some damage. But the concept of this, if you ever try to cut something with like a round belly, if it's not really sharp, sometimes it won't bite in. Like if you're cutting hair like on an animal, it will just roll right over that hair or roll right over the clothes. So this is supposed to have an angle here, like a Tanto edge, and another one there. That way, when you're slicing, those edges will bite. You can really get like like deeper in.
Yeah.
So it's like, this is not a this was wrapped. I just wrapped it in some like some goon tape, but it has the Edo wrap under there. It's khaki and OD green, but it's wrapped up with that. But this is just like a defensive, more like a combat EDC knife. But this was, I don't know, 6 months or more before I did anything with the Bowies, because I do like katanas and
Japanese style.
Edo wrap. Like I really like Edo wraps. I've got a bunch of Williams design stuff.
I love his stuff.
And I met him at Blade Show. Him and his sons, like they're really cool. He like did some like concrete stuff on me.
Yeah,
I was like, this is pretty cool.
Stab you from across the room. That guy's crazy.
He's really tall too. He's like He's
Oh
probably
yeah,
like 6'3" or something, maybe.
yeah, and he has an eerie calm about him.
He's listening. If you're talking, he's listening, and like he's like watching you, and you can tell he's just like he's processing everything.
How could I dismantle this person? Hey, Reese, thank you so much for joining me on the Knife Junkie podcast. I've really enjoyed talking to you about the V44X, but also just the history of the Marine Raider Bowie. I'd love to have you back on sometime, talk K-bars, talk all the other stuff you got in there.
All these are K bars, and it's a World War II. It's a Japanese fuse pommel. I got a bunch of those.
That's cool.
A lot of people don't know what those are, but I do those. I've got multiple things in there.
Well, let's talk again, sir. Thank you so much for coming on the show. I appreciate you, man.
All right, yeah, that was great. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. There he goes, ladies and gentlemen. Reese, well-regulated. That's how you know him on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. More V44X Bowies to come, and then further on out, the EDC Bowie. I cannot wait. Definitely well worth the purchase. Even if you're not a big Bowie guy, like I say, every household needs a big Bowie. This would be a great choice. All right, thanks for watching. For Jim working his magic behind the switcher, I'm Bob DeMarco saying, until next time, don't take dull for an answer.
Thanks for listening to the Knife Junkie podcast. If you enjoyed the show, please rate and review at reviewthepodcast.com. For show notes for today's episode, additional resources, and to listen to past episodes, visit our website, TheKnifeJunkie.com. You can also watch our latest videos on YouTube at TheKnifeJunkie.com/YouTube.